All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here at Whiteboard Medicine. We appreciate you checking it out. Hope everybody is doing well. Today's topic is one that a lot of people have kind of requested or brought up questions on. And it's a Mechanical Ventilation Advanced series, specifically talking about driving pressure. Per usual, quick disclaimer, this is never intended to be medical advice. Please stick around to the end of the episode or check out the episode description for the full disclaimer. And then a couple shameless plugs. We have a Patreon page. We upload the study guides to the videos, practice questions, public health, emerging infectious disease, all that good stuff. We have a weekly newsletter that focuses more on public health and emerging infectious disease. And obviously we have YouTube page, podcast platforms, all that kind of stuff. We would love for you to check out some stuff. All of it's linked in the episode description. So dive in. We'd love to have you. Enough of the shameless plugs. Let's dive into driving pressure. What is driving pressure? Well, driving pressure is a variable that we can determine when someone's on mechanical ventilation, okay? It represents the pressure difference needed to inflate the alveoli during each breath. And we're going to come back to that as a concept. Okay, so it kind of represents this interaction between tidal volume and compliance of the respiratory system. And it's really emerged as a marker for lung stress and possible risk for ventilator-induced lung injury. If we were to kind of try to bring it down to a lower level, it's kind of the amount of pressure the ventilator uses to quote-unquote open the lungs beyond their resting state. And this definition will make more sense, I think, when we start to talk about the equation for it. We'll loop back around to it. It depends on how your brain works, but sometimes understanding the equation, how to calculate it, then helps us better understand the concept behind it. So, good transition. How to calculate driving pressure. So there's two main formulas depending on the data you have. One of these is the most common. So we're going to start with the less common formula. And the less common formula, if you know the compliance, is that driving pressure is actually the tidal volume divided by compliance. And this is a representation of what driving pressure is, but is not as clinically useful. The more clinically useful equation, which is the one that most people use, is that driving pressure is the plateau pressure minus the PEEP. And this equation is best applied to a patient who is passive, so they don't have a lot of ventilator desynchrony or interaction with the ventilator, and they're on volume control. So they can't be spontaneously breathing, they can't be desynchronous. This has to be a patient on volume control who's fairly passive. They're not interacting much with the ventilator. And what you have to do is you have to get a plateau pressure. If you do not know what a plateau pressure is, this video is probably a little beyond where you're at. We have a whole playlist on all things mechanical ventilation where we dive into plateau pressure. It's linked in this episode's description, so definitely check that out and then return to this. For those of you who do know what a plateau pressure is, friendly little reminder, you have to get a plateau pressure with an inspiratory hold. And this you kind of set on the ventilator, right? You click a little button and do an inspiratory hold, and this essentially means there's no flow of air going through the airways. You pump a breath in and then you just hold. And you check the pressure. And this is more representative of things like lung compliance or alveolar compliance. And the driving pressure then is the plateau pressure minus the PEEP being the positive end expiratory pressure. And if we really think about this, what we're saying is I'm going to push a breath in and hold it, which is going to help me just see kind of alveolar pressures, lung compliance. And I'm going to subtract the PEEP from that. And it's going to give me a number. And the lower the number, the better, which essentially means the higher the PEEP and the lower the plateau pressure, the better. Whereas if the plateau pressure is going up more than the PEEP is going up, the driving pressure will be higher, and that is worse. And we're going to circle back around to this, but I want you to kind of picture that. And maybe we'll do it now and we'll talk about it again in a second. So when we think about the plateau pressure and we think about the PEEP, lower driving pressure is better. So the plateau pressure minus the PEEP, we essentially are saying that you have this alveoli, and this alveoli is experiencing the PEEP that we set, the positive end expiratory pressure, right? This is the pressure that's there all the time, both inspiratory and expiratory. And if we set that PEEP at 5, that is going to cause the alveolus to be distended to a certain amount. And then we check a plateau pressure. And if that alveolus is perfectly distended, that plateau pressure, that inspiratory hold, that pressure that's reflective of alveolar distension, is going to be probably low. And we're going to have a low plateau pressure, and the driving pressure then is going to be lower. Whereas if we have an alveolus that is over distended because there's too much PEEP, the PEEP's at 15, that plateau pressure is going to be really high. And if we play around with this in our brains, let's say that we have a plateau pressure. Let's say the plateau pressure is 20 and the PEEP is 5, okay? And that's a driving pressure of 15. And we're like, oh, well, actually, let's change this. Let's say the plateau pressure is 30 and the PEEP is 10. That is a driving pressure of 20, right? Driving pressure is plateau pressure minus PEEP, 30 minus 10, driving pressure of 20, okay? And we're going to draw an alveolus if you're watching the YouTube video, and that alveolus is here, okay? And let's say we're like, goodness, is this the right amount of PEEP? Could they be under-distended, under-recruited, or over-distended, over-recruited? And I think, based on my clinical assessment, that they are under-distended, right? I think this alveolus is kind of collapsed down, and they're under-distended. So what I'm saying is, I think if I go up on the PEEP, that will cause the alveolus to be perfectly distended, which means that the plateau pressure won't really change because I'm just going from kind of an underdistended, shriveled down alveolus to a normally distended alveolus. So what this would look like is I increase the PEEP from 10 to 14, and I let that PEEP take hold, and then I check another plateau pressure. And that plateau pressure maybe is 30 again. And now what I'm saying is, okay, my driving pressure is 30 minus 14, because that's my new PEEP, and that is a, 30 minus 14, yeah, because that's my new PEEP, and that is a driving pressure of 16. Whereas at a PEEP of 10, that driving pressure was 20. So I went from a driving pressure of 20 down to 16, which then tells me that that PEEP change was good. Changing that PEEP from 10 to 14 just helped recruit more alveoli, that before they were under-distended, because the plateau pressure didn't really go up much, even with an increase in PEEP, which made that driving pressure go down. But if we take the other scenario, right, we're going back to they're at a plateau pressure 30 and a PEEP of 10. And I think I'm like, oh, I think they're under-distended. So I increase that PEEP to 14, like I did. So the PEEP goes up, again, 10 to 14. But I was wrong. They were not under-distended. So now this alveolus is super over-distended at that PEEP of 14, and I check a plateau pressure, and that plateau pressure is probably, 36 now. So if I do a driving pressure now, 36 minus 14, that driving pressure is now 22. It got worse. It went up. And that tells me that that PEEP change is just over-distending alveoli. It's causing more barotrauma. It was the wrong thing to do, if that makes sense. We'll come back to it. All right, so what does it mean clinically? What does the driving pressure mean clinically? Well, as we mentioned, lower driving pressures suggest that less force is being used to inflate the lungs. And this often indicates the lungs are at a better compliance, more optimal compliance, whereas higher driving pressures mean that there's more force needed to inflate the lungs, and the lungs have kind of a lower compliance, aka stiff lungs or over-distended lungs. So lower driving pressures are quote-unquote good. Higher driving pressures are quote-unquote bad. And driving pressure is a surrogate for what's considered kind of lung stress, strain, associated ventilator-induced lung injury. So that higher driving pressure can suggest that those lungs are sustaining ventilator-induced lung injury, and we got to make some changes. So when we use driving pressure, the things to think about are lung compliance. And there's two different ways to think about this. Actually, three different ways. One way is following the driving pressure to better understand how lung compliance is changing. So if you are not changing the PEEP, but the driving pressure is getting worse or getting better, it suggests the lungs are getting more or less compliant. So again, just scenario, the plateau pressure is 20, the PEEP is 5. Your driving pressure is 15, right? Driving pressure is 15 because it's your plateau minus your PEEP. and you haven't made any adjustments, but you check a driving pressure the next day, and the driving pressure the next day is 22. That's probably too robust of a change, but you get the point. What you're essentially saying now is the compliance has changed. Something's going on. Maybe the patient is developing worsening ARDS. Maybe they're having progression of illness because the driving pressure has gone up even though you haven't changed the PEEP. That suggests that the plateau pressure is going up. Same thing in the opposite direction, right? Let's say your plateau pressure is 30 and you're at a PEEP of 10. And for whatever reason, that's the best you could do. Your driving pressure was 20. You don't make any changes, but you check the next day and the driving pressure is down to 15. That essentially means that plateau pressure is getting better and the compliance is getting better. Whatever illness was going on is improving. Okay? So if you're not making adjustments, honestly, you can track the plateau pressure too. But a lot of times things are a little more complex and driving pressure can be a helpful surrogate, but it can be an indication of how the lungs are evolving from a compliance standpoint, either worse or better. Okay, so assessing lung compliance. You can also use the titrate ventilator settings, and I think that's what a lot of us do now, especially in ARDS. You could try to find an optimal tidal volume and PEEP to achieve the lowest driving pressure. And that's kind of what we were talking about, right? You can do PEEP titrations while checking driving pressure intermittently to see if the patient is, if their alveoli are optimally distended. And there's fancy things like stress index, which can help you understand this. But essentially, you're trying to get the alveoli to the most optimal amount of distension by titrating their PEEP either up or down, right? If you think they're over distended, you want to titrate the PEEP down. If you think they're under distended, you want to titrate it up. But the driving pressure will help you understand if you made the right decision. Because if that driving pressure goes down, that means your PEEP titration was good. If your driving pressure goes up, that means your PEEP titration was wrong, and you should think about going in the other direction, whether it be up or down. And then predicting outcomes, we don't use this as much, at least personally, but elevated driving pressures are associated with increased mortality in mechanically ventilated patients. So if you were to think a little bit about the evidence, this is just as of this video recording, there's certainly other evidence out there, but in 2015 New England Journal of Medicine, there was a landmark meta-analysis of patients with ARDS, and this is when driving pressure kind of came more so into the forefront. And it found that driving pressure was more strongly associated with mortality than even tidal volumes or PEEPs. So it suggests that reducing the driving pressure may improve survival in these patients with ARDS. There's been subsequent studies that kind of support this concept that you should be targeting a lower driving pressure, not just tidal volume or PEEP. But most of these are associative studies. There hasn't been, at least as far as we're aware, these robust RCTs, although they probably will be coming, so stay tuned. When we think about important clinical considerations and caveats, again, this is really only valid during passive ventilation. If the patient is breathing a lot on their own, they're desynchronous, what have you, you can't really do this. It confounds the measurements. You need a plateau pressure to do this. So you have to measure the plateau pressure appropriately or your driving pressure will be off. And just remember, this is affected by chest wall compliance. Although the driving pressure takes some of that out of the equation, it still does take it into account a little bit. So clinical takeaways here and then key summary points. Driving pressure is a powerful, easy to calculate variable that does reflect lung compliance and injury risk, especially in ARDS, and targeting that driving pressure of less than 15. That's your magic number. Less than 15 is what the evidence would suggest may be correlated with more improved outcomes. Okay, key summary points. I think we're there. Driving pressure formula is plateau pressure minus PEEP. You want it to be less than 15. Higher driving pressure implies poor lung compliance and increased ventilator-induced lung injury risk. Best used in ARDS management. And remember, the patient has to be passive or you cannot get an accurate measurement of this. Hopefully that was helpful. Let us know what thoughts, comments, questions you have. Again, check out that Patreon page, YouTube, podcast, weekly newsletter, and we have a whole mechanical ventilation series that will link obviously in the description on this episode, so check those out too. Either way, we appreciate y'all. Stay well, keep learning. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, and welcome to Whiteboard Medicine. We appreciate you checking out the video. Here at Whiteboard Medicine, our goal is to create medical education content for all types of interested learners. That includes videos, practice questions, study resources, and much more. We would love for you to join our community by subscribing, hit that bell button. We're also working to build a high-yield Patreon page. It's going to be full of practice questions, video outlines, notes, commercial-free content, and much more.
None of these videos are intended to be acted upon as medical advice. Please pause the video here and read this disclaimer in its entirety before moving on.